Hey, all you cool pipers and drummers out there. That's my Tiger King joke of the day. This video is actually going to be a little unique because this is in particular for a friend of mine from high school, Setsuna, who was like, "Hey, I got a practice chanter, so show me how to play." Which is kind of cool because she was actually overseas when she got it as a souvenir. And so I'm just going to go over some basics with piping and playing on a practice chanter. Yeah, obviously, if anyone has questions, if no one knows what I'm talking about, go on ahead and ask questions. It's more specifically for her, and I don't know if you want to, do like comments or anything back and forth and get a thread going. Setsuna, like if you find your practice chanter out of storage and you want to do a little thing, just let me know. I had asked her a couple questions. With the practice chanter she got was made out of wood or a polypenco, a plastic material practice chanter. She said she had a polypenco one. So I have two examples of those. One is my Gibson Wong practice chanter. I had a Gibson standard practice chanter. It was the first one that I learned on. And then this one here, which has a sole at the end, is from R.G. Hardy, and it's a twist trap, has a built-in water trap in it. And then she also mentioned, I asked if they had cane or synthetic reeds, and I believe she said she had one of each. So for example, the cane reed, I don't have any practice chanter ones, but I have obviously many from my pipes. It kind of would probably look a little like this. Both cane and synthetic would have two blades to vibrate back and forth to create the sound and the pitch that you'd want. But typically with a practice chanter, most people get synthetic reeds. They're quick, easy, pretty cheap, and they last a really long time. There's two designs that I've seen. I haven't really seen any other kinds where typically they're either long and thin, like this one here, and typically they're not red, but RG Hardy has their regular like white blades, and then they have these red ones. And then the other kind are a little bit less long, and they're thicker blades. This is an Abbott reed. Most of the practice chanter reeds I've had are Abbott reeds. I stopped with showing you here because I was gonna kind of throw you off a little bit, but see, I put a sponge on here that helps with the moisture control on this, so I can play whether it's this practice chanter or this one with the water trap for a longer period of time, and just keep practicing and practicing, and build up my finger speed and everything, get ready for playing on the pipes again. Setsuna, I'm not sure if you have one that's kind of like this, like the red one, where it's long and thin, or if it's a little bit shorter and it's a um, wider base for the blades. If typically what I've noticed is that most of the longer and thin ones, they're easier to play. But they don't get as loud. You kind of get drowned out a little bit to other things depending on what's going on around you. Especially if you're in if like everyone if you're in like a band rehearsal, little practice, and you're on your practice chanters, it's kind of harder to hear. But obviously, the better the players, then and they're all in unison, then you're not really going to have that problem. But sometimes these Abbott reeds get a little loud, a little bit too loud, or a little bit off in tune, and you can get a little rubber band bridle here. You can get them from pretty much any bagpipe vendor, and that kind of helps to just dull the sound a little bit, reel it in for you. And if you have any pets, something kind of interesting, especially if you have dogs, some of them, whether it's a practice chanter or pipes, they either don't acknowledge it whatsoever, or they very much acknowledge it. um, we have 4 Shelties. One of them, Kenna, who's the mother of 2 of the other ones, loves to sing with her daddy. She barks and howls and has her tail going the entire time, even if it's just on the practice chanter. Growing up on Long Island, we had labs, and you can kind of see on this little water bottle, this is a picture of our backyard. This was one of our chocolate labs, Riley. And as I'm playing here with my Highland pipes, my full set of pipes, he's out there just listening and hanging out with me. And him and his brother Bud, Bud would just love to howl, kind of like almost like he's trying to be in tune with the drums. Um, but back to the chanter reeds. If you look here, you'll kind of notice the difference between these 2 here. You'll see this yellow. That's hemp. That kind of holds stocks together, typically with bagpipes. So same thing with the practice chanter. Traditionally, you can get them on a little roll like this. There's regular, and then there's waxed. You would not put waxed on this. And there's like a traditional one where it's white. You'll notice that this one with the water trap doesn't have it because the moisture doesn't really make its way down here. So instead, it's got these little rubber like O-rings that kind of lock in the mouthpiece here. You shake it, whatever, it's not loose, it's not going to fall off. But if you don't have that, if you have like a regular practice chanter, you're going to want to make sure that the hemp is tight, and it'll pick up most of the moisture before the reed does. If you can get a little sponge to put on there, it'll help you out a lot. You can get like a whole bunch of these little ring sponges from places like the the Piper's Hut. That's one out here in Ohio, and it just expands. It holds that moisture in, and that helps to keep the practice chanter reed dry, which is nice. You want to make sure it's tight fit. You have to re-hemp it, take a little off, take a little on. It'll take some practice to get used to that. As far as playing, one thing I would say, especially because we're all getting older now, on all of mine, I put these little rubber mouthpiece guards. You can get like 3 or 4 of them for like $2. You just heat them up in hot water, stretch it over, and it's done. You don't want to like accidentally cramp down on you or chomp down on your teeth there and maybe crack a tooth or something. We're not as young as we were, so things happen in life. With the actual notes itself, I think Setsuna, you're gonna pick up on it pretty easily. Typically, people who have played a previous musical instrument can pick up on it a little bit easier than others, especially have a little bit of a background in music theory. You're going to find that compared to your clarinet, it's probably a lot easier. And then the further you get, it might actually become a little bit more complicated. So to begin, I'll just tell you the same thing my grandfather told me back when I was 10 years old. And there's basically just 9 notes. That's all you got to do. Learn 9 notes, 9 finger movements. Where it kind of changes from there is eventually then you're going to learn embellishments. So that'll change the notes up a little bit. There's lots of them. There's grace notes, doublings, torluas, barrels, grips, chronoluas, and etc. And there's like false notes and what some people call bubbly notes and slurs and all sorts of stuff that you'll learn, and eventually that will complicate it a little bit more than simply just 9 notes. I would suggest, I don't know if you got one, a lot of times when you get a practice chanter for the first time, sometimes they sell them in kits or they just sell them there and they advise you to get them. They tell you to get a little learn to play the bagpipe kind of tune book. On this one, was my first one. It's kind of falling apart. It's got a lot of information in there. Shows you, how to hold the practice chanter, different notes, different exercises, pretty simple things like that. A little bit of music theory, and this one in particular is called "Learn to Play the Bagpipe: A New Method of Practice Chanter Tuition." So let me go off of that again. So learn to play the bagpipe, a new method of practice chanter tuition, and this is by Pipe Major R.T. Shepherd. Again, that's Pipe Major R.T. Shepherd. So like I was saying, there's 9 notes. So the first note, so you're gonna use both hands. Down here at the bottom, your last hole here is where you'll put your pinky. And you'll follow suit with your ring finger, your middle finger, and your pointer finger of your right hand. On the back here, you're going to put your thumb, and it might feel weird, it might not. What a lot of people kind of taught us originally, back in the days, you can't even see it here. Maybe if I go really close. No, not really, but I have a tiny little nick that I made with a knife years ago, and then just like feeling that, it helps, lock your hand. You're not like gonna have your thumb slipping and sliding while you're trying to make your notes, and it kind of helps a little bit. Eventually, obviously, you don't need that once you get used to it. So again, we got pinky all the way up to your right pointer finger. You got your thumb on the back, and then you'll notice there's 3 more holes on the front and then 1 hole on the back, kind of like a recorder having a hole in the back there. So what you're going to do is you're going to take not your pinky, but your ring finger of your left hand to cover that first hole, then your middle finger, then your pointer, and then like on the back down here, except it'll be used for notes and embellishments, you'll put your left thumb down there. So you should have all holes covered. Technically, you want to make sure you have good posture. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to try as hard as you can to have your fingers straight. Your top hand will be a little bit on an angle, and what I mean by that is just not like this, whether you're clenched around. It's going to make it very difficult for you to make your movements, to change notes, and you're going to have a lot of like, if I were to just kind of go like it's just you're going to make false notes. They're not going to come through right. You're going to slip and slide. So again, you're going to want to try and make that as pointed, as flat as possible. Think of it almost like high society, pinkies out. So, with your top hand here, you want your pinky out of the way. So don't put it back. Don't, because that'll make it difficult to lift these fingers. Don't keep it even, but kind of just have it out, have it up a little bit. And then same thing here when we go through the notes, with your pinky down on the bottom hand, you'll have that out. So we have all holes front and back covered, and you should get a sound like this. And that is a low G. Okay, so that's low G. And then the next note, very simple, if you can do a low G, is the low A. You just lift that pinky up. So low G, low A. All right, and then as you might have guessed, the next note, you lift up another finger. So simple, I could do it. This is a B. Okay, now when we move to C, it's a little bit different. You are going to move that finger up, but now you're going to drop that pinky down. Okay, so you're going to go like this. So if we go from low G to C, okay, now simple again, going from a C to a D, just lift that finger up. That's it. Lift that finger up. pretty simple so far. Just C is the only one that's different. You just lift that next finger up. Okay, that's a D. Now, switching from your low hand to your high hand. Pretty easy as far as what you do with your right hand. When you start with an E, you're going to drop all your low hand fingers, your right hand, and you're going to lift your pinky up. So all the high notes with your left hand, you're going to have that pinky up. So again, pinky's out. Okay? So E. So we got that pinky down at the bottom, that's lifted up. And then we got the left ring finger lifted up. So down from low G. That'll probably be one of the more frustrating things for me probably with just getting those hands in sync, so you're not making a false note like want to make sure you're not clicking on that. So then go from E to F, and again we're going a little simple again. We're just lifting a finger. So again that's E, going up to an F. So come down from low G. Now we start below G. Now we're going to get to the high G. So here's the F. And if you guessed, we're going to move a finger. You're right. We're going to move a finger. So again, we're just pinky out for the entire top hand, pinky out with the right hand. And then we just got that thumb on the last note is a high A. So this one's just a little bit different, kind of like that C, which is a little different. So we are changing a finger, but we're not going like this, and we're not having a hand on there. So we're going to drop the thumb, then we're going to take that ring finger that we had that we lifted up for the E. So we're going to drop off the thumb, and then we're going to put that ring finger down. That's a high A. Okay, so from low G. And we'll just go from the side so you can see. Okay. Not crazy complicated, especially with some of the other instruments out there. Learning different notes from your low and your high hands and changing scales and everything. Typically, for the most part, everything with the pipes that you're going to see is going to be in D major. You can get shuttle pipes and small pipes and Uilleann pipes. You can get them in different keys. So those are a little different. You're still playing the same notes. You're just really, except for the Uilleann pipes, it's a little different. But you're just really just changing the key with the reed. That's all you're doing. You're still playing those same 9 notes. And then from there, I would say the biggest thing is just learning, working up that finger speed. So like just do little exercises. You can make them up, going up and down. Obviously, if you get a book like this, there'll be a couple different things already in there. I think one of them was like just kind of going all the way up there. It didn't mean to confuse you at the end, but that's a brain shutting down. A doubling, high A or a strike if you want to call it, high A doubling. So going back to those notes, so I would say you can fiddle around with it. Just I think the first time I got a lesson from my grandfather, I was in the basement in our finished basement in New York, practicing. He come down, show me something, go upstairs, hang out with my parents. Figure I'm gonna be, fiddling around for like 20-30 minutes and then need help. I was done like every 5 minutes. I picked it up pretty quickly. I give a lot of credit to that, to playing the trumpet beforehand. Um, and I think Setsuna, with the clarinet and using both of your hands, because trumpet would just have those 3 valves. I think you'll pick it up pretty quickly. So just kind of quick review. Make sure your hands are flat. For the most part, you're just kind of lifting that next finger up, except for the C and then the high A. We'll move on to grace notes. So there's 3 grace notes. Traditional grace notes, I guess, are easier to say. So there's a G, a D, and a E. So it's pretty easy to remember. So let's say you're doing an A, all right? So a G grace note on an A is lifting that G finger. This is the finger that you would lift to make that G sound. So that's why it's a G grace note. Same thing here. You'd lift a D finger here to make that D. You're lifting that finger up, so that would be a D grace note. And then same thing here with the E. You'd lift that finger, so that's an E. So if you were to go to G, D, E. Let's space it out. Or play around with it with the phrasing, and what you'll notice is that you can do that here, your low hand, but then you kind of get to a point here with your high hand where you can't quite do that all. You're not you're not going to be like here on an F and then drop that finger down. That doesn't quite make sense. So low G, you have them all. Oops, I read. Low A. B. C. D. Now there's things like you'll have like a grace note, you'll have like a strike, and then with a D, also a D throw and a B slap, where you're like this. You gotta make sure you're not missing those. Again, that's going to be getting your fingers used to working together. Because if you have like one finger come down before the others, it's not going to sound pretty. D throw would be like. Nice and slow, so you kind of go. I'm starting on an A, but like A, D, that D grace now, C, D. Then you kind of pick up the C. So we're here on the high hand here. We'll do that. G. We'll do F with a G. When we get to the actual G, what you'll do is you actually lift up the back finger here, and then which is actually, I think, technically, that's really more of a I think that's technically a doubling. That's not a grace note. And then when you get to the high A, you have a high A doubling, you just kind of strike the back here. And kind of mirror that, you have what's called the burl down at the bottom, where you slide across. And that's probably going to be the most funky sounding one that you try. It's very easy to miss. What a lot of people kind of tell you to do in the beginning is if you take your finger, your pinky here, and go like on the side of your nose or behind your ear where it's not like you're like gross, but there's typically a little bit of oil there. And then you kind of just rub that on that G hole. That'll help you with. You want to make sure it's nice and even. There's like a over indentions off of that. And then a little bit more difficult one to do is strike down. I'm not so great with it, especially since I haven't practiced in a while. But you strike down, but instead of going like this, you go like this, and then you gotta bend that pinky, and you strike from left to right. So down, left, right, down, left, right. And again, I'm not so good at it, and I haven't tried it until now in 8 years. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I need practice. It's not so great. And that's probably a good place to leave it off right now. So you got those 9 notes. You have your grace notes, which you kind of lose that once you start getting. You have a couple different embellishments where you have like a D strike. You have a D throw. You go from one note to a D, and then you do that. You have the D. You have the D grace note, C up to the D. You had your D strike, and then you have a D slap. So you have a D strike. Sounds a little late. A little bit thicker. And then I guess since I showed you actually, I showed you the G doubling and the high A doubling, I should really kind of, I guess, show you the E, which is just kind of doing. Just looking up that one finger, and then the next one while remaining on an E, and then similar with the F, just so. So top hand and there's a lot of things that you'll, as you go, that's going to be a lot probably. But obviously, if you pick it up quicker, just tell me and then we'll keep on going. There's going to be kind of fun things to do, like a trill, where you kind of like that, or you're doing a slur. You're going to do like a false note, like a bubbly. So I'm actually using like let's see if I can do. Yeah, so we'll just keep on going. Let me know how you do. We'll probably throw around with simple things. There's a lot of cheap music you can get online. You'll probably start with things like Happy Birthday, like. You'll probably find some fun things to do, like Star Wars. Just kind of fiddle around, and but you'll find a lot of good sheet music out there too. In relation to sheet music, typically what a lot of people do, once you start, learning the notes. Again, I really recommend you get one of these. It'll, show you like the finger holdings that we were just going over for the different notes. It'll also go into the music theory, and it'll show you, how to read the music. What note on what line is what, going over all that fun stuff. What a lot of pipe bands do, music-wise, and that they pull from, is a book, well, a series of books. One of them is the Scots Guard. Um, Pretty much everyone talks about, like, if there's like a piping Bible, this is where you start. Volume 1 of the Scots Guards. They also have a volume 2, which not as thick, but it has a little bit more, not to say more fun music, but a little bit less than just marches. But there is more than just marches in volume 1 also. I know a long time ago I was warned that there was a scam, that there was a volume 3. And funny thing is, like, after I stopped playing, they actually did come out with a volume 3 in 2012, and I didn't hear about it until now. So I actually have one coming in the mail, so I'll be learning some things out of that. Before I did that little demonstration about this little case that you can get to hold your practice chanter in. So like something like this on the side, you could have one of these in there, so you keep all your stuff together. There's a lot of tune books that are in the similar shape. So like, again, like hornpipes, jigs, Irish music versus Scottish music, and everything. You could stick those in there. There's a lot of music out there. A lot of things that'll be fun. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know. Again, I'm not sure what practice chanter you have. I know you said it's a polybenco. I would recommend, if you do have both reeds, using the synthetic reed. You need to be a little careful shopping. I would recommend going to the Piper's Hut, and I'll put the links in the comments, or go to RG Hardy, somewhere like that. We actually do, or did, have a bagpipe vendor on Long Island. I don't know if you and John are still there or not, but that actually sold, and it's a little unfortunate. I don't know the guys that bought it. They are pipers, but the previous website, you could order from it, and the new website, you have to call them and find out things and prices and what they have, and that's personally just not how I like to shop. I just like to go, I need this, I need this, I need this, check out, done, wait for the tracking number. I bring it up because you'll notice that there's a lot of places. This is a wood one. This is a Blackwood practice chanter. It plays actually pretty good. It's a little loud compared to the others. I haven't figured out quite with the bridle yet. Oh, I missed that. The holes are a lot tinier on this one. It's hard to feel them. It's African Blackwood, but typically, I'm not knocking this practice chanter company that made it, but there's a lot of, I don't want to say knockoffs, but there's a lot of practice chanters and bagpipes that are made from Pakistan. We just call them like Pakistani pipes or Pakistani practice chanters, and a lot of them aren't that great. But a lot of it is actually really the reeds. Some of them, if you just switch out the reeds, get like a regular reed, and not one of the ones that they make, it sounds a lot better. So like this exact same practice chanter, which has an Abbott reed in it. If I were to take, where did I put that? These are the reeds that I got from them, and they do look similar. Maybe a little thinner, almost like they're in between the two. But you're going to notice this isn't going to sound so great. It's the same air pressure the entire way. And that reed will do it no matter what practice chanter I stick that in. So again, like, I'll probably put a bridle on this one. I'll adjust it and see how it comes out. But for the most part, it's fine. It's just a little loud. But yeah, if you go to like Piper's Hut or RG Hardy or something like that, you'll know that you're getting a dependable product And if you have any questions, obviously I can direct you from there. I guess that'll probably be it for the video. Again, if you have any questions or anything, just let me know. Message me, comment on this, whatever. And I hope you guys are doing well. Say hi to John and the baby. I'll talk with you later. Bye.